Hey now, today we are taking a look at a game that I already filmed an unboxing video for, and that is Galaxy Defenders from Ares Games. Now, Ares Games, who actually made War of the Ring, which is a much different game than this. This is a purely cooperative game. Ares Games is a highly competitive game with a fantasy Lord of the Rings theme. This is actually a die-hard science fiction, very XCOM-esque type game. This was actually on Kickstarter. This is not the Kickstarter edition, and that's not what I will be reviewing. This is the retail edition of the game. But basically what the game is, it's like I said, it's a cooperative sci-fi themed game similar to XCOM. You take control of an elite group of Earth agents who are trying to defend the Earth from alien invasions and aliens constantly swarming down, and all kinds of different aliens, different colors, and different teleport points, and it's very scenario driven. There's a whole storybook, they actually call it the storybook, that tells you how you should set up the different chapters. If you decide to go that route, you can simply make your own game up, because there are sort of modular tile boards with different hexes on it. There's hexes that are just open space, or boards that are just open space, and there are ones that have rooms on them. So you can kind of create your own game here and make the game what you want it to be. Now, having an open-ended scenario-based game has not always worked for every game in the past, and so I was slightly hesitant about this game, actually, and that's why I didn't kickstart it. Were my fears, did those pan out to be true, or is this a decent, good, or even great game? Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to give you a very brief overview because I cannot cover every single little bit of this game. Then we'll come back. I'll tell you my final opinion. Oh Nelly, there are a lot of little bits and pieces and different rules to Galaxy Defenders. There is no way I'm going to be able to cover them all, and I'm probably going to get some wrong if I try to cover them all. So I'm going to give you a very brief, very broad overview just to give you a taste of the game. Now, the first thing I need to mention, well, I guess the first thing I should mention is the theme of the game. The theme of the game is that you're a group of super black ops agents on Earth who are trying to defend it from these alien invading swarms of all these different alien creatures. But really, the game feels like XCOM a bit and things like that. The game is actually modular. I mean, you can make different scenarios. You can make one freely on the fly. You can use, there is a storybook that comes with the game that is full of different scenarios that you can go through in like a different campaign mode with different sort of restrictions on how you set up the board, or you can just freely make it however you want to. Now for this, I sort of took inspiration from the first basic setup, but then I just threw all the different miniatures on there. So do not take this as, for instance, there should not be all these hero minis at the start, and there shouldn't be all these different aliens starting off unless you're in a really advanced scenario. There's also different boards you can use. This is sort of like the starting desert board, but those are double-sided, and there's other things on the other side. There's all these different scenarios with buildings and rooms and just some really, really cool, nice artwork on the tiles. Now, once you get all the boards set up and you have all these different tokens, which I'll get to in a minute, then each player in the game, and the game could be played solo, is going to take one of these heroes. And these are like the little, basically, these take the place of player cards, and they're going to tell you what character you are and what they do. So, for instance, someone who takes this would be Agent Mercury, who is the Infiltrator. That designation is important because certain equipment tiles, which I'll get to in a moment, are only going to be usable by certain character classes unless they're generic. And over here you have room for these little tactic wings, which there's basic ones and improved ones, which are going to give you extra special abilities, and they'll go there. Then each character is going to have weapons that they start off with. So she starts off with a blade and a P66 gun. And then down here is her movement and her health. There's also some special armor special abilities, and a special ability here, the stealth, which means if she can't passive, if not engaged, cannot be targeted by aliens at 2 or more. We'll get to all of that. And just to fly through the rest of these, we have Agent Chromium, who is a Marine, and we have Agent Iridium, who is a sniper. You're noticing a theme here, I hope. Agent Thorium, who is a biotech, and of course, Agent Titanium, the Hulk, or as we like to call him, Barrett from Final Fantasy VII. And here they all have different and unique miniatures as well. Here's the Infiltrator. Here is the Hulk. And the medic actually can drop some attack drones, which is kind of cool. So, and then, of course, there are the aliens as well. And the aliens are all color-coded. All the green aliens are sort of easier than the other aliens. And then the blue ones are like the medium range. And then there is one red alien that comes in the base game, and he is nasty. Like, really, really nasty. But we're going to cover all of that. So once you have everything set up, you've chosen your character, then it's going to go into turns. Now, the gameplay in this is relatively simple. There's just a lot of bits and things to move around. But on your turn, the heroes will go first, and you'll decide who the alpha agent is. The alpha agent is important because a lot of the decisions in the game have to be made by whoever the alpha agent is, but this can change every turn depending on what the players decide. On your turn, you can do any of 3 different actions, or 3 different types of actions on your turn in any order that you choose. So first thing you can do is move. You can move up to a number of hexes, whatever your human speed is, and just basically end there. Obviously, there's blocking terrain, things that are going to prevent you from moving, and so on. If you engage with a monster, you can't just move away. You're going to have to either use a special action just to get away from him, or basically give up most or entire of your turn, or you're just going to have to fight him and kill him in order to move away. So moving is one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is do combat. And, well, actually, let's get back to that. The other thing you do is do a generic action. Now, actions can be used in several different ways. There are some special actions depending on the scenario. You can use an action to use devices, which some scenarios will start you off with, which are just like one-time use special dealies, like destroy a signal within 3, or heal 3 wounds as long as you're at range 0. Roll a die on hit effects, you move up to 2 areas, a teleport, things like that. You can use an action for special things, like I said. You can use, some characters have special actions they can do with their equipment and their skills. And some of the things like destroying teleporters. There are teleporters on the board, which are these tokens, which correspond to faces of the die. Those can be destroyed. This is the base scenario. You can use an action to destroy those. So that's something you can do on your turn. The other type of action you can take is a combat action. And this is really the meat of the game, is attacking one of these critters. So basically, if you're attacking someone, it depends on what weapon you're using. So for instance, Agent Titanium here, the Hulk has either an MG or the Classic. And they both have different ranges on them. So the Classic has a range of 0, which means he has to be adjacent to an enemy. The MG has a range of 2, which means areas. Now, area is actually a group of hexes as delineated, as delineated by these white lines here. So if my range was 2 and I wanted to attack this green guy here, I just have to be 2 areas away. If I was 3 areas away, no dice. It doesn't really matter what hex you're in at that point. Now, combat is very simple. It'll tell you which die to roll, either the red die or the blue die. The red die is more deadly and has more chances of getting hits. The blue die does not. So you'll roll however many dice is telling you to roll and hope that you get hits. Now, hits are these little starburst symbols here. There's also other symbols on the die. If there's an energy symbol, that's going to let you use a special ability of whatever weapon you're using. So, for instance, for the Hulk, if it's the MG, every lightning bolt counts, gives him an additional hit. Or maybe if you just roll, I think it's only 1 hit total, no matter how many lightning bolts you roll, if I'm remembering correctly. If you get that little exclamation mark symbol, like the warning sign, that's a weapon jam. If it's a ranged weapon that can be jammed, which means you can't do anything with it until you use an action on your next turn, or an action on the same turn if you still have it left, to get rid of the jam. There are the Galaxy Defender symbols. These only count when you're trying to level up. As long as you kill at least one alien on your turn, every player has a chance to roll 3 of the red die, and if they get at least one of those Galaxy Defender symbols, they can take one of these basic improved skills and hope to level up. And if they do it again, they get to take a blue one. If they do it again, they get to take one of the actual skill tokens, which are much better, and so on. You can level up several times. And that's basically how combat works. Now, when you roll that die and you get hits, then the defender, however many hits you roll, the defender gets to roll that many blue dice and hope that they get these little shield tokens, which will cancel out the hits. Or some of the aliens have special abilities, like if they roll a lightning bolt, they get to regenerate, things like that. It's the same way if you're getting hit as well. So you're just trying to get as many hits as you can and try to kill the monsters. So you'll do that, take your turn, combat, fight, generic action, and that's it. Once every player, this happens on every player's turn, once they're done, they have to draw a card from the Close Encounter deck. The Close Encounter deck is basically the AI for some of the different monsters. So, for instance, if you draw this card, it says Elite Assault, you activate all the blue aliens. That means every blue alien on the game board would do their particular action. Here's another one, activate no aliens. That's a good one for the heroes. Blue aliens again. Activate all green aliens. Activate all wounded aliens. Activate all aliens. That's a really bad one. Activate all Xeno Alpha, so they go further down into breaking down specific alien types, but of different colors. So that's how that'll work. Now, what does that actually mean? So depending on what models you have in play, you're actually going to have these cards in front of players. And the Alpha Agent is actually going to assign these specific alien cards to players so that every player takes control of different aliens. And if there's a lot of them, they might have to control multiple aliens. But it gives players something to do and delineates tasks. So over here in this section of an alien card, it's going to tell you all the different AI things of what this alien is going to do when it activates. And you do these things in order depending on the circumstances of the battlefield. So if the Xeno Beta is 0, which is adjacent, he moves 2 areas away. That's the only thing he does on his turn. You only do one of these things. If he's 1 area away, he attacks with his blaster and moves away 1 area. If he's 2 areas away, he gets to attack twice with his blaster, so he does not want to be in melee range. If he's 3 away, he moves an area towards the closest agent and attacks once. And if he's more than that, he moves an area towards the closest agent and uses Regenerate. Down here at the bottom, it tells you what the special ability is. And over here as well, whenever he can regenerate or get a lightning bolt. And then here's how many hit points you have to deal to him in order to kill him. And they're all basically the same in that regard, just with different abilities. The Xeno Alpha has a lot of nasty things that he can use. Here is the Arachnos, which is this sort of alien looking, well, like Alien from the movie Alien looking things, and so on. So that's basically the aliens. If you kill one, it goes, you would have to reshuffle if you ever run out of those cards. Then the last thing you do, a player does at the end of their turn is draw an event card. And event cards are going to represent basically different status effects affecting the whole battlefield, mostly bad for the agents, but not all the time. So, and I should mention this as well, depending if you're using the scenario book, and actually even if you're just making your own campaign, these decks will be constructed at the beginning. Not every type of alien will be in the deck, therefore, whatever aliens are in the deck will determine what close encounter cards are there, and also you'll build the event deck in a certain way as well. But here's some examples. One event, Alien Assault. This means you would teleport, depending on the number of players, signals onto the board, and then all signals move 3 areas toward the closest agent. So what are signals? Signals are these little things that you'll randomize at the beginning of a story, depending on exactly what the scenario is telling you to do. If a player ever catches line of sight of one of these, you immediately flip it over, and it either has an alien symbol most of the time, or a human symbol. If it's a human symbol, nothing happens. Let me try and show you one of those. In fact, there it is. Got lucky. If it has that symbol, nothing happens. But if an alien spawns, then you immediately have to teleport an alien out to the board, roll the blue die, whatever it comes up, it corresponds to one of these teleport symbols, and then you have to put the corresponding, you draw an alien off the top of the deck and put it out on the board, assign that alien to a target. So that's what signals are. Having more of them on the board is usually a very bad thing. Run, run, run. All agents may immediately move a hex, which can be used to disengage from an enemy, and also move 3 areas. All signals move 3 areas towards the closest teleport point, and then you may have to spawn more teleport signals. Weather effects are different in that weather effects do not get discarded after being played. They stay in play until another weather card bumps them out. Weather effect, all agents' speed is reduced by 1. Move signals toward 1 area towards the closest agent, and if there are less aliens than there are players, you may have to teleport some signals. And let's see, just here's another one. Alien plans. Each player has 2 agents discard an ammo. All signals move 1 area towards the alpha agent, then you teleport signals. Ammo is only used for certain weapons that require you to use ammo. Some of the lighter, not as powerful weapons actually don't use ammo at all. They have infinite ammo. And that's basically, after you draw the event card, it goes to the next player and so on, and this continues. Now, a lot of games, the event deck will actually usually determine how many turns there are. So once you run out of event cards, that's going to be the end of the game for better or worse, depending on what your scenario requires. There's a lot of other tokens. Like I said, there are devices which are one-time use. I happen to draw the blank one that comes with the game. Sometimes there will be weapon symbols out on the board, which will let you grab newer and better weapons, which you'll slot into your characters. Some people have regenerative shields, which gives you these shield tokens. And there's a lot of other different bits that come with the game, new and better ways to modify the game board. There's just a lot to this game. It's very, very customizable. And that's not every single detail, but that's basically Galaxy Defenders, cooperative play, trying to defeat the aliens, and go home to your loved ones. If you think of Ameritrash games, Galaxy Defenders is going to be one of the new poster children for that style of game. And that's all there is to it, because this game has all of the different benchmarks of an Ameritrash game. You have miniatures with a science fiction theme. You have tons of little bits aside from the miniatures, all these little tokens and things that you're moving around and hexes, and the game is heavily focused on combat. You're getting all kinds of cool weapons, and it's a cooperative game, which Eurogamers love. No. So this is pretty much the quintessential Ameritrash game. Maybe not as much as one of the Eldritch or Arkham games, but it is up there. For my part, I like the game quite a bit. I don't think I love it yet, but I'll get back to that in a second. Let's start from the beginning. The components, really cool components with this game. The boards are a good quality, and that sounds like a silly thing to be harping about, the boards, but the fact of the matter is with a lot of these type of games with the modular boards, they don't do a very good job with them. They warp, they bend, they don't look that good, the artwork doesn't look that good on them. I think they did a fantastic job on them personally. The miniatures are good. Now, again, I'm not a miniatures gamer yet. Hopefully, for the sake of my bank account, I will never be one, a diehard. But the miniatures, I think, are good quality. Other people are probably going to say that they're not, because these are clearly miniatures meant to be knocked around and to be mass-produced. They're not that intricate or that intricately styled, but I think they look pretty cool for what they are. They're meant to be sturdy, but still look cool. I think they succeed in that regard for what little bit of miniatures knowledge that I have. The aliens look pretty cool. I think if you had the Kickstarter edition, you got a bunch of extra aliens, but I didn't really notice that anything was missing. I think that they did a good job, and you could probably live without the exclusives for this one. All the little bits and stuff, that can be annoying. I don't like games that have a ton of little bits, and the first time that you sit down to play this game and spill everything out, it's going to be annoying figuring out what's what, especially with the little tiny ones, like the signal bits and the little the little wings that you get for leveling up, so to speak, and getting the extra one-off abilities. Keeping all that stuff in order, that's going to be irritating. That kind of leads into the scenario-based play, because in the scenario-based play, before you do every game, you're going to have to build the deck. I mean, well, even if you do it on your own, you're still going to have to do that kind of stuff anyways. And that's another layer of fiddliness that some people are not going to like. Another hallmark of an Ameritrash game. So I think at this point, you probably know whether you're going to be inclined to like the game or not. Because it's not going to be for everybody. Now, I like it, and what I do like about it probably the most is I like the AI system for the enemies. It feels very intuitive to me. There's still some choice on the part of the players who are taking control of the aliens in certain situations, but for the most part, everything is kind of covered by those cards, and it works out well. I think that the enemies react in pretty logical ways for what they're meant to do and what their role is. So, for instance, the Xenobetas, who, regardless of which color, they're just there to shoot things. They do not want to be involved in melee combat. That is anathema to them. So they will move away as very far if they have to. If they're engaged in melee with someone, they will move very far away, and then they will continue to shoot. And that's what they do, and it makes sense to me. It makes sense with these spine creatures that they're going to run up as fast as possible and try to chomp on people. And they explode, which is another cool little bit. The Xeno Alpha is going to do what the Xeno Alpha does, and that's to lead aliens. And the big red guy is just going to screw everything up. So the aliens behave how they're supposed to behave. It's very thematic. I think it's cool. The agents are very distinct from one another. I love games where people don't just feel like they're all doing the same thing, where they're actually very distinct. I guess I'll mention this now. This game feels very similar to Level 7 Omega Protocol. I haven't reviewed that game yet. I probably should. But it's got a very similar feel, but to where I would call, well, first off, Level 7 has an Overlord or an Overseer, which makes it a one versus all game. So that's significantly different from this game. But also, Level 7 is more of a sci-fi themed dungeon crawl, so to speak, whereas this is more of an open-ended cooperative game, scenario driven. And so, I guess making it more like Descent than Super Dungeon Explorer, if you want to put it that way. But I do like the way that, much like with Level 7, they have the distinct characters. You have the medic type character. You have the heavy brute, the Hulk. You have the guy. The medic also drops drones, of course, which is very similar to Level 7. My personal favorite is the Infiltrator, the only female person on the team. Whatever. I like to play FemShep, okay? I won't lie about that. But The Infiltrator has like the cool katana abilities. Her miniature probably looks the coolest out of all of them, and the cool stealth ability as well, which can be a lifesaver at times. So really like the way they make the characters distinct. The battle system, I'm not as thrilled with. I think that the dice rolling and having you roll the defense die of the amount of hits that you take. I don't know. That feels clunky to me for some reason. It can be hard to keep track of what you're supposed to roll, when you're supposed to roll. For instance, keeping track of killing aliens and having to have another dice roll just to level up. I feel like that should just be done right away, or have another type of leveling up system. It doesn't feel that intuitive to me. I'm not a fan of keeping track of what the dice do. I almost think like maybe it should have just been a numbered system where if a certain number is rolled, maybe that would make it too fiddly too. But the dice system in the combat feels a little clunky to me. It's not, I appreciate moving things around the board with the enemy AI. Maybe it should have been more deterministic. If this person moves here, if this is the situation, you take this amount of damage unless you have this. Stuff like that. But this isn't a Ameritrash game, so there will be dice rolling. So you just kind of have to get over that. Everything else in the game, I mean, the game feels thematic. It feels like you're sending agents out on a mission. Like I said, it feels a bit like Level 7. It feels like XCOM, the video game. So if you really like that, this is going to be up your alley. And if you like cooperative games with a lot of theme to them, it's something to consider checking out. This is very drastically different than a lot of other cooperative games I have in my collection, though. So therefore might not be in your alley. People that like Robinson Crusoe, because it has Eurogame elements, are not going to like Galaxy Defenders because it is the exact opposite of that. They're both cooperative games, but the theme and the random gameplay is going to turn off a lot of people, I have to say. For me, I like it. I like the theme. Solo, it is very hard. I will say that. I played through a couple scenarios with people, and then I tried doing just the base scenario by myself with solo, and I found it to be very difficult. But that's fine. I don't really play games to be solo. I mainly just do that to enhance my reviews by having a better opinion of it. But this is not going to be for everyone. I think it's staying in my collection because I love cooperative games and because I like having another option, and because as complicated and fiddly as it is not as complicated and fiddly as other games like Robinson Crusoe and like the new game Myth, which is going to be quite a review when I get around to that. And so therefore it doesn't take as long. It can still be a long game. I think that the box lies a little bit depending on the scenario. I think they said 60 minutes. Don't bet on that. Even for a solo game, it could take that long and maybe even longer depending on the scenario that you're doing. But it's still faster than some of those other games, and it fills that niche of having the sort of crunchy combat driven Ameritrash game while still being cooperative and still having a lot of theme to it and not going over long, which can be a problem with these types of games. So I think check it out. If you like the theme a lot, if that appeals to you, if you like cooperative games, it's definitely worth a play. But due to the expense of it, you definitely want to try it before you buy it. My name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day in every way. Take care.